Wait for it, and we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans, it's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans and one chaos coordinator geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we are going to let our guests introduce themselves, and we're going to go round robin because I don't want to alphabet today. And Michael, introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers at home.
Oh my God, I'm first? This has never happened before. Wait, let me just soak this in. Okay, I'm good. I'm Michael LaVoice, author of Galaxy's Most Wanted, soon to be releasing a new series called Gladius Leagues, which is an alien invasion story in which the only defense we have is a bunch of prima donna warrior athletes because we got rid of militaries and solve our problems with combat sports that are televised. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. So come along for that ride in a few months.
Are any gladiuses involved in the stabbing of these books?
No, it's just the name that they gave the power armor that is the ultimate achievement of human military might.
I mean, you call it the gladius and you don't have the sword. I feel disappointed.
It's a gladius suit. But everybody has a melee weapon. So you get to see an assortment of battle axes, maces, bar maces, flails. There's all kinds of crap. It's great.
It's like, come on.
Oh, all right.
You get mad about that, JR? Because like the Halo armor for the Spartans is called Mjolnir armor, and it's not a hammer.
This is also true.
What are you
bragging
on me for, man?
Get the Halo pass. Jesus, Nick's hitting all the
check yourself, bro.
Thanks, Nick.
I got you.
Thank you.
The brightest day.
All right, next we got Mr. Lynn Barry.
Hi, I'm Len. As mentioned, I am the writer of Ethereal Darkness, and the latest round of Ethereal Darkness is the upcoming on August 30th, Loyalty of Severus. It's I like to think of it either A, as space Romans fighting future Amazons, and or B, Dune for trans girls. Either way, it works. It's awesome. It's fun. It might be the best thing I've put out yet.
Okay. Best thing you put yet? I mean, you're setting the bar for yourself. How do you top that the next time? Is everything the best yet?
I mean, the best yet means just I have to keep getting better.
That's right. You gotta keep pushing.
More explosions, better characters.
All right. Well, with that, we've got Mr. Dane Kroll. Can you introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers at home?
Hello, everybody. Hey, thank you guys for having me on the show. I'm Dane G. Kroll, author of Realm of Goryo Kaiju series and the new comic book series we're getting out, Digitaro Senshi Kaiju Breaker.
Nice.
That is a mouthful, sir.
Yes, very much.
I'm most interested. Tell us a little bit more.
What would you like to know more about?
How do you break a kaiju?
Pitch.
The pitch? Oh, let's see. I got a couple pitches now. Realm of Goryo. It's Godzilla meets Game of Thrones, if you like. So we got Showa era continuity and Game of Thrones level of continuity going on. A lot of storylines going on. Everyone's trying to take over the world, but no incest. So you get that off.
Oh, okay. I'm out. Just kidding. No, actually, it sounds amazing.
All right. And next, but certainly last, but certainly not least, we have Mr. James Young.
Hi, my name is James Young. For those of you familiar with the podcast, in previous iterations, I'm also an alternate historian as well as a sci-fi author. Basically, I've been on here for both. The latest thing that's going to be coming out soon is Dispatches from Valhalla, which is a collection of my short stories. A little bit of background, because I'm going to tell on Dane a little bit. He is also, as you can probably tell from his announcer voice, a TV personality here in Topeka, where we reside. So he is a bit well known to the local folks, and I've been his neighbor at various cons. Has various fans for Realm of you need to read his kaiju books. I will go ahead and make the pitch for him more than I will myself because I have definitely seen his rabid people. So, but yes, I will try to avoid us getting the dreaded not safe for work tag this time, unlike last time when I was talking about Mecha.
All right. And because this is your first time on the show, Dan, you do have to answer the religion questions. Are you ready for this?
Bring it.
All right. Star Wars, Star Trek, or Firefly?
If I had to pick one of those three, it'd be Star Wars. If I would want to say Stargate, though, I became a really huge fan of that one and went and binged through the whole series. But out of those three, Star Wars was on me as a kid and still has me today.
I remember seeing the Stargate movie in the theaters with my dad when I was a kid.
I wasn't lucky. I had a binge watch on Netflix.
It's great. I own the entire franchise with the exception of the Gate World stuff. But I got to get that. It's great. They keep teasing us that they're going to do more, and then they don't.
I know. I want more.
Like George Martin, huh?
Have you? Did you like the Stargate universe?
It grew on me. I didn't like it at first because it was such a different formula and a format, but I started kind of getting into it towards the end of the series, and then they never came back after season 2, so it was a little disappointing at that point.
Yeah, they teased us with an ending. They didn't really give us, and they're like, well, don't worry, we'll give you a wrap-up in a graphic novel. I'm like, okay, as long as we get a conclusion. I'm still bitter. I bought that graphic novel for $50 on launch day. Still a cliffhanger.
And I think they also teased with Stargate and Stargate Atlantis with SG-1 as well. They had teased a comic book series eventually, and this will be the next season. And then a mini series came out, and then that was it. They never really followed through with that either.
The cool thing is enough people are fans of it that they're starting to do their own versions of it, where basically Stargate, not Stargate, so you can get some of that cool. I mean, it's not an unusual concept to involve the ancient gods were really aliens. I think that's pretty much every sci-fi franchise out there has tried that at least once.
I'm always curious. Probably there were books written based off of the original movie that what they would have gone off the sequels of this TV series not happened. I've always been interested as well.
I have to check those out. I haven't read any of the books. I did, other than the graphic novel. I didn't know they were out there. So
yeah, the books are really good. I had most of them back in the 90s, so don't have them anymore. The used bookstore where I took them to no longer exists. So
I'll have to check that out. Okay. All right. And because we are polytheistic here at the Blasters and Blades podcast, Game of Thrones, Wheel of Time, or Chronicles of Narnia?
That's a tough one. Oh, man. Chronicles of Narnia, I read when I was younger growing up. Game of Thrones, though, it won me. The TV show won me over. I don't know if I can really call myself a true fan, though, having not read the books. So I would almost go Chronicles of Narnia just for more street cred.
Okay. Well, if you read the books, you'd just be disappointed because so far you don't have an ending.
That's also very true. So I got away with that one at least. At least I have an ending. It may not be the greatest ending, but it's there for me.
Yeah. All right. And one of the crying shames of adulthood is we stop asking each other this very important question. So we're going to ask you today, sir, what is your favorite dinosaur?
Okay. Kind of want to say Velociraptor, but that seems like a cheap cop-out, especially since Spielberg kind of made it up at the time. So the second favorite will be Ankylosaurus. I think I really like him. I like the spikes. I like the shell. I like the tail. He's a winner.
Is that the one with the Thagomizer?
No, that's a Stegosaurus.
Stegosaurus.
Yeah.
All right.
Ask me how I know.
How do you know?
Fan? You're a Gary Larson fan?
That was my favorite dinosaur. We had this discussion last podcast.
I was being sarcastic, but okay. Do you get jealous that you haven't gotten to name a dinosaur part yet, James?
Oh no! Again, I actually,
No one's stopping you from naming a dinosaur part.
No, I didn't. Oh no! I'm not going there again. Like I said, I got us in trouble last time.
All right.
No, we got a banner for it. It's cool now.
All right, and last but certainly not least, Dane. We are civilized human beings here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. We are no longer knuckle dragging troglodytes. So, coffee or tea, and how do you take it?
I actually do not drink either. I'm a water boy. I drink just water. I think I do have to go into the tea department eventually to get a little bit more caffeine in me, but right now, H2O.
That's high quality H2O.
Yeah, my mind went to the Waterboy movie when he said that too, and I was trying to remember one of the lines about the Abdullah Oblongata or whatever.
You're drinking the wrong kind of water.
An alligator shot because he hasn't got no teeth. I can't remember how the line goes now. It's been so long as well.
Yeah, alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth and no toothbrush.
Yep.
Yep.
No toothbrush.
I watched that. I really want to find someone who's like Louisiana Creole that can watch that and see if that coach that's like rubbing his chest, is he actually saying anything, or is that just mumbo jumbo? Because I can't understand it if he is.
Oh, you've never listened to a Louisiana coon ass? Because that's what they're called.
No.
Call themselves that. That's not a derogatory term. That's self-referential for them.
Yeah, and they're proud of it too. It's like being a redneck in like Arkansas or some shit.
Right.
But like,
No, but I want to get one of them to listen and see if
Creole rednecks, and they're called.
I just want to see if he's actually saying things, or if it's just like, you know, the muttering that I don't know Popeye does, which is really nothing.
Oh, I have no idea. I don't speak.
Oh no, he's saying stuff.
Sounds like some kind of lubricants. Yeah.
All right. So the first question is, obviously we're here to talk about kaiju, but before we can do that, what is a kaiju?
Japanese word for big monster.
Okay. Well, then we did find a video yesterday that I shared on our Twitter, which is not yesterday when you're listening, that has the argument whether Paul Bunyan then is a kaiju. So discuss.
Absolutely.
You guys.
Technically qualifies as a giant.
That's what I was about to say. Paul Bunyan is a giant.
His ox, on the other hand,
yes.
Babe is a kaiju.
Strange beast.
I've seen that argument before, and I think Paul Bunyan is a kaiju according to the criteria that we do kaiju. I don't remember the argument now, but I did agree with it when I originally saw the video like a few months ago. It was, but
because the original word actually from Japanese culture refers to creatures from ancient Japanese legends. And then it was over time, it morphed to mean the big creatures. But I don't know how Paul Bunyan would qualify unless you're just referencing the fact that he's part of American myth.
I mean, yeah, he's a part of mythology.
But he's also a giant, so isn't that the requirement? So, I mean, technically, I guess Goliath.
He created Michigan when he fell down once.
I mean, it could be all giants are not, or like all giants could be kaiju, but not all kaiju are giants, or vice versa. The square and the rectangle type of thing.
Yeah.
Well, all squares are rectangles.
Well, yeah, exactly. But not all rectangles are squares.
Right.
All animals are equal, but not all animals are equal to the others. Or no, some are more equal than others. There we go. We're confusing ourselves. It's all Dane's fault.
I know.
So
all right.
Paul Bunyan is basically a giant human, and that to me disqualifies him from being a kaiju. I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, is there a single kaiju, depending on how you classify Cthulhu? I think he's an elder god, so therefore cannot be a kaiju. Is there a single kaiju that you can think of who has a bigger than room temperature IQ?
I mean, I've never thought kaiju were stupid.
No, instinctual and primal, yes. Stupid. Basically,
Mothra always seems so smart.
Mothra seems savvy, and I'm always not sure how much of that has a telepathic link to the twins.
Yeah. Okay, with twins.
I always thought the smog monster was kind of stupid.
Well, but that's
basically flying around farting on Tokyo and people die. Just my opinion.
I'm trying to think of a single like.
Okay. So it sounds like we haven't. Obviously it means giant, but does it have to be a giant monster to be a kaiju? Does it have to be a monster out of Japanese myth to be a kaiju?
See, I'm of the opinion that kaiju is giant monster. So it has to be both a giant and it has to be a monster. So that's why I say
non-human.
Yes. It has to be a strange beast.
Humans can be monsters.
Right.
No, humans can act like monsters, but
so all right. So I'm wearing my
James,
Attack on
like
Titan shirt
I like you a lot.
because I'm of the opinion that Titans and Attack on Titan functionally are a kaiju. Even the ones
humanoid, no skin.
Oh yeah,
monsters.
There's that one too.
Yeah. Kaiju.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember, hate mail can be sent to Stabby.
Well, I mean, the term grew.
I don't
but
want
like
that
I said,
smoke.
I mean, originally, before Sakoku ended and Japan opened itself up to foreign relations, like in the mid 19th century, the term kaiju really just was classic mythological creatures. But then it started to expand to be used to express concepts like legendary creatures and concepts from paleontology. So I don't know, man. I mean, as early as 1908, there was the monster of Partridge Creek, which was a story about a creature that was referred to as a kaiju. So, I mean, they've been around for a while.
Yeah.
Nelly.
At this point, we're allowing machines as kaiju with Mechagodzilla,
Mecha-Rodan.
Mecharodan, Mechacon.
There was a
I
Mechacon.
would kind of
Mechacon.
draw the line at Mechagodzilla. I mean, depending on which iteration of Mechagodzilla we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't consider the Jaegers from Pacific Rim kaiju. They fight kaiju.
Right. No, those are giant stompy robots. That's a different category.
Damn right, they're giant
Yeah,
stompy
we've
robots.
talked
Damn
We
good ones at that.
talked, last. Anyway,
Don't get me wrong. I love Gypsy Danger, Gypsy Avenger. I love the Pacific Rim, but those were a response to kaiju. They're not kaiju.
Right.
so I would say rule number one: if you have to be piloted, you're not kaiju. Rule number two: if you are basically a human, even a human who's taken go-go, Power Ranger juice, and now you're like huge size, you're still not a kaiju. You're just a big human.
Well, Voltron actually had kaijus too.
Every Roby. Well, yeah, the Robies. Mm-hmm.
The Robies, those are definitely kaiju.
Oh yeah.
That goes in the show notes.
Sometimes they're both kaiju and their characters.
So, are you guys saying Paul Bunyan's a human then? That he can't be considered a kaiju?
He's a
I would
giant.
say that.
Yeah, he's a giant human. I mean, you can converse with Paul Bunyan. Now,
I'm going to resort. I'm going to go back to my Catholic upbringing. That is a Nephilim. That is a giant.
Nice.
It's there.
Can a human ever get turned into a kaiju? Like, say they say you two are humans, something turns monstrous, something magical or whatnot, and then turns into a monster. Does it matter about the origin if he starts as a human?
I think it's
I think you
instinct.
right?
I think it's possible. Part of it is the execution, but I mean, if the better just you get a clearer discussion though if we have this is the set rule to go on, and because I can argue anything any direction you like.
I've seen him do it.
I think if you have a mystical background and you're large, you're a kaiju.
I don't even know if you need a mythical background, but that's just me.
I think he does. I mean, he had a giant blue ox with them. There's got to be some kind of myth going on with them.
Well, how do you know that's not magic?
It was the ox a kaiju?
That's a whole other topic.
Well, that's I think you have a better argument to the ox being kaiju than the human. To Paul Bunyan.
Yeah.
Well, technically, a rouse is a kaiju then. Rats of unusual size.
I think it's got to be a size category before you get to being a kaiju.
Because there's no metric for how big the creature needs to be considered kaiju.
Well, no, if you say big, large beast, I think that you have to be like, because then at that point, Bigfoot's a kaiju.
I could probably buy into that.
I mean, that you can make that argument. It's just
like you must be.
Yes, you must be this tall to be kaiju.
Okay, how tall is that?
Maybe next year.
I would say at
You need to be
least
250 meters tall to be this.
I would say I'm okay with
That
saying
wouldn't
100
even get
meters.
Godzilla.
100 meters. If you
Okay.
if you maybe put a hash mark on, I'd say if you're not 100 meters, you're just swole. I mean, you're not.
And King Kong might have been a kaiju originally.
You're
What's that?
Swolezilla. You're not Godzilla.
Yeah, wait. Does that mean Godzilla is a kaiju as well?
Definitely.
Which
a kaiju.
Godzilla?
Well, I mean,
Talking about
technically
Zilla?
Godzilla's a kaiju, but
Well,
if
no,
we're
Godzilla's a
saying-
kaiju.
He's the
I mean, if
OG
we're saying
kaiju.
you have to be at least 100 meters tall, then there's some versions of Godzilla will not cut it.
Well, okay.
He's got a
How
point.
far was my one? See, I don't know if
I was-
height does it. And
Well,
then,
that-
okay, so what could those
So-
about Power Rangers? They start out small, then they grow big. Then they become a kaiju?
Well, no, they're still human.
Well, you know, like the
the monster.
No, the monsters.
Oh,
Like the lipstick monster, played by Bryan Cranston.
I don't know. I'd say you're a kaiju at that point.
even when they're small?
No, you got to be big. Otherwise, you're just a beast.
So it's a
You're not
monster.
you're not a monster.
But there are such things as baby kaiju. So
Well, yeah, but if
We're
you're
going to
a
mix
baby of
Japanese
that
and Spanish here and
species-
call him a kajito.
so when they're smaller,
Godzilla.
they're
Yes.
kaiju shifters then?
Well, no. If you're, I would say if you're a baby kaiju, you're clearly of that species.
No.
Just
We're
like kaiju
talking
species.
in this example. Dane suggested the monsters from Power Rangers that they will grow larger to fight the Power Rangers. When they're larger, they qualify. They are kaiju. We agreed. But when they're smaller again, they're no longer kaiju. So they're kaiju shifters.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I go with it.
Kajitos.
Okay.
There has to be a
That's
threshold
the
where
thing,
you're a kaiju. It's kind of like, I'm going to use military terminology. Not everything with a turret and tracks is a tank.
But they're all targets.
Well, yes.
All right. So we had a picture when we were doing the kaiju stuff. I did a few of them that LaVoice wanted to use for this discussion. So he had
There's your baby kaiju. So, okay, my youngest daughter, Trinity, forced me to watch this new Ultraman Rising movie from Netflix. She said, "We're watching this. It's Father's Day. You're going to watch this with me." I had no idea it had such a touching. It's a great movie. It's got a nice father-son message and stuff. And this little baby kaiju was in the movie, featured very heavily. And I turned to her, and it reminded me of her in a way because she's very cute, and this thing's very cute. And but she's also like way taller than me. So I told her, I said, "You are now officially my little kaiju." And so that nickname is stuck. So my daughter Trinity is now little kaiju. But that's why I wanted to use that picture. She gave me express permission to tell that story tonight because I thought it might embarrass her.
You got to save it for future significant events.
Yes. And then that means you can use the word we just agreed is a new one, kaijitu. Put the little at the end, make it little.
I think I would do that.
small kaiju.
I'll tell her that tomorrow when I see her at work.
Perfect. So we've come all over the place and kind of maybe sort of agreed on what a kaiju is. So what is it about them that you think makes them
Is
so
phrasing
appealing?
still a thing?
No, that's not a thing anymore.
Oh,
I
my
watched
Lord.
simultaneous,
Oh, my ears.
like, huh? I don't remember.
Like all five of us outside of jail were like, "What did you say?" You know?
I got nothing. We'll just move on.
Yep.
Send the hate mail to Stabby.
Oh.
So what is it you think makes kaiju so enduring that people still love the monsters years after they first appeared in media?
It's the unstoppable force, man. You know, it's this giant, larger than life, literally creature that is just wreaking havoc. And then humanity has to come together. They don't come together. And you see, it's a human story in most of these kaiju stories. You know, it's like, how are we all going to get along? How are we going to fix this problem? How are we going to fight this threat that's just knocking stuff over like a drunk baby, you know? I think that's probably the most entertaining part is the human aspect of it, because like kaijus themselves just running around and kicking the crap out of each other. Yeah, they're entertaining, but it's not long lasting. It's the human interaction with it. How we're going to fix this problem that I personally really enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Nick, where it does seem like the stories can be very timeless, constantly humanity uniting against some kind of unstoppable force. We have great allegories, great metaphors, no matter what decade, era we're in. But I think also it really is about that, what you said, larger than life. We want to project ourselves as something larger than life. And so that's what we can do easily by putting ourselves into the footsteps of Godzilla or King Kong, or then again, vice versa, put ourselves up against something so gigantic that how are we going to beat it? I'm seeing these characters on screen time after time beat something that's just unbeatable. And I think that reflects in a lot of us.
I think it's the, again, we all know that Godzilla is basically an allegory for the military of the United States. No matter what we do as a Japanese, it just keeps coming. And that is one of those things that I always found fascinating with it, was all the different ways you could get into, okay, so why does this monster just keep coming back to Tokyo? Or why do we keep having this monster come back? And it's like, oh, look, we've done the stupid thing that's brought the monster back.
And we saw that in Monarch.
It's also the social aspect of it. It's also talking about the social fears of the time. How are we dealing with atomic weapons? The fact that it's like on any given day, in the 1950s, especially once you get to the H bomb, you can snap your fingers and everything goes away. I feel like it is always interesting, and then it goes to also the my favorite is Godzilla 1985. The U.S. version, where basically you have the rising fears of nuclear conflict lead to, oh, we've killed Godzilla, we finally Super X'd him, and then, oh wait, because of this stupid Cold War conflict, we just resurrected the monster again. That's the sort of thing. It's interesting to see how these sort of things come back time and time again.
Len, you look like you want to say something.
Who what?
I said, Len, you looked like you wanted to say something.
Yes, Len wanted to say something. Len was about to say something. So, Len, say something. I'm reminded of Godzilla -1 because, well, you have to be. I mean, it was the greatest movie last year, and I don't say that as I like kaiju. I say that it's just damn good cinema. Period. I mean, I actually cared about the humans for once, so that really sold the human story aspect of it. I mean, a lot of what is going on in that movie is, how do we confront something that is way, way bigger and stronger than us? That the most powerful destructive thing on Earth just made worse. And if it decides to, it could just say, bleh, and make that powerful destructive thing happen again. It starts off a kaiju, and then it just becomes even meaner and nastier and more destructive. And it's not just, like in Power Rangers, okay, I punched the kaiju, or the kaiju punched the Zord, and we tackle a building now. No, even picking up a train is terrifying in that movie because of the scope. And if you measure all of the incarnations of Godzilla against each other, Godzilla -1 is not that big, but his impact is. And I like that it's basically saying, hey, we're the people of Japan, and we're trying to go up against something that is more powerful than what the most powerful country in the world has right now. How are we going to do that? We don't even have the military. We don't even have that other country to back us up. How do we do this?
Floaties! Wait.
Yeah, floaties.
Sorry, anybody who has not seen Godzilla -1, but that's kind of my at this point.
Yeah, I haven't had the chance to see it yet. I almost had my wife convinced to watch it the other night. Then she goes, "What? Subtitles?" I'm out.
Okay.
I was like, man.
In the movie's defense, a friend of mine went along with me to watch it, and he is usually in the same category as your wife. Subtitles, I'm out. He's like, yeah, I got drug along, and he's like, no, I followed it just fine. No problem. It's clear.
I'll still probably just end up watching it by myself.
I was about to say, I literally watched it. It was either last week or next last weekend. It was in the theaters, and I had to drive an hour out to find when it was still in theaters. I had to go over to over at Kansas City, and as I tell people, there was only supposed to be a slight dusting. We had a pretty significant snowstorm. It was not fun driving back home. But I was like, yeah, that was still worth it. I mean, I got like 2 wrecks on the way home, everything else, terrible driving. And I'm like, nope, that was still worth it. I will commit the minor sin of blasphemy to some people. I told people, I'm like, yeah, I liked it better than the original Gojira. That is probably my favorite Godzilla movie of all time.
Cool. Okay. High praise indeed.
Yeah.
You know, I've been a Godzilla fan since
just a quick barometer. Just a quick barometer check, though. What did you guys think of the Godzilla movie with Hank Azaria and where they had the eggs in the stadium and all of that? Did you guys like that one? I think
you mean the Zilla movie?
Yeah, the Godzilla movie.
No, you mean the Zilla movie, because that was not a gun.
Okay.
I did like his cameo in Final Wars, though. That was appropriate.
You know, Zilla, I mean, it's getting its due now that a lot of us who, I was 9, 10 when the movie came out, and so
I took my oldest son to that, and he cried when Zilla bought it. He just started bawling. I was like, wow, okay.
I love the scene in the garden when all the baby Godzillas are running around. It really did make me think of Jurassic Park, in which maybe it's a huge ripoff from what the Raptors, but they knew who they were going for, and that was one of my favorite scenes.
So, being a significantly older when I saw that movie, I felt chipped because they made it sound like it's probably going to be an American. They made that movie sound like Legendary is now.
Yeah.
And so understand that's why I went to the movie. I didn't even go see the Legendary Godzilla when it came out because I was like, no, I've seen this movie before. And I have a friend of mine who's a diehard Godzilla fan, and they were like, no, you need to go. You will kick yourself if you do not see this movie in the theaters. You need to go. Like, no kidding. It's like no Michael Broderick in sight. Go to this movie. Or Matthew Broderick, sorry.
That's okay. It's interchangeable.
Movie that it got a bad beginning because it had the Godzilla name to it as opposed to just being a random monster movie.
Yeah.
But it had a place.
Yeah, they didn't market it like Cloverfield. Like, you know, it's a Cloverfield type monster.
Oh shit! Yeah.
So we've talked about generally what the kaiju is, what it looks like, why it endures. Do you have a preferred medium to engage it? Is it only visual for you? Will you read the books, listen to the audiobooks, or is it only a movie phenomenon?
Movies for me. In fact, I pulled up a best 12 kaiju movies of all time list. I want to run past everybody, see if they agree with the picks.
Okay.
So books, again, having been of adult age in the 90s, I don't know if anybody else remembers the Godzilla novelizations that first name was Michael C. something. He also did the anthology that came out around the same time, where like it covered everything from soup to nuts of Godzilla up to that point, like the different eras, have like synopsis movies. He talked about the different makings of the rubber suits and different stuff. But he actually wrote the several novelizations. So I will consume Godzilla in just about every media. Just to put this in perspective, I'm going to grab something real quick. But I books, video games, played a whole bunch of Godzilla video games, Kaiju video games also. They're, you name it, I'm usually there for Kaiju.
Did you like Godzuki?
As a kid, yes. And I don't mind him as an adult. No, seriously. I'm probably, telling on myself age-wise, but I remember Godzuki. So Godzilla used to come on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The CBS stations had a movie feature, and Godzilla usually came on. Some Godzilla movie came on usually once a week. And the babysitter loved it because there was a time when she could have total quiet and calmness in the house with about 3-year-olds because we were in rapture. It didn't matter. Even the bad Godzilla was like, oh, it's a smog monster. Okay. But I don't think a smog monster is that bad. I mean, the one where Godzilla's flying, that's probably the, okay. We've jumped the shark, so to speak. And Godzilla's dragging his tail over it. That was, but, or like that's childhood, a foundational childhood memory for me sitting there watching it. That's any medium. any medium.
Cool. I used to love that cartoon. I was hooked on that and the Tarzan Batman Adventure Hour. They were like back to back where I grew up on the local CBS affiliate. So it was pretty dope. But my friends used to make fun of me for enjoying that cartoon, but I thought it was dope. So
Pay no attention to the noise. I'm grabbing something off the shelf.
Before we dive back into the other mediums, because I want to hear what Lynn and Dave have to say. Michael, you had the list of the 12 movies.
yeah. This was put out by a website called whatnerd.com. And so they do their, like everybody else, they do their list from number 12 down to number 1. And I don't agree with all of these choices, but I will agree with number 12 is Destroy All Monsters from 1968. And that one just had everything. And it had that 3-headed bat-winged thing, Godzilla. It had the one that looked kind of like the armored dinosaur. I mean, it had everything in it, man. And it was a Toho-produced movie. It was the 9th movie of the Godzilla franchise at the time.
It was the Avengers of Toho.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it also features one of Godzilla's greatest battles against King Ghidorah. So that was pretty cool. Though they had number 11 is Monsters vs. Aliens from 2009, which is an animated flick. Number 1, that movie was not that great.
It was set in my hometown of Modesto, California. Also,
Was it really?
George Lucas. So I'm watching that. And I'm like, Modesto doesn't look anything like that. That's way too clean.
But yeah, that was DreamWorks' attempt at spoofing B-movie creature feature genres. I just didn't think it was a kaiju film, even if it did have a giant monster in it. I just didn't think
it was fun. It was a fun movie.
Yeah, it was fun. Number 10, coming in at number 10 was The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms from 1953.
That's a good one.
That's a really good one.
That's solid.
Yeah, that's early stop motion stuff. It's really good, based on a story by Ray Bradbury. So
Harryhausen that did the effects for that? I think it was Harryhausen.
The website does not say. Just says it's directed by Eugene Delory. So didn't say. Number 9 on the list is Ghidorah, the 3-headed monster. That's from 1964. And that was directed by Ishiro Honda. So that's that 3-headed bat-winged critter that I was talking about earlier.
King Ghidorah, Monster X.
That's its first appearance, by the way, in 1964. Number 8, everybody's favorite big bug, Mothra, from 1961. Also directed by Ishiro Honda. That was the Toho kaiju movie without Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool. Kind of stands out in that respect. And they've got Cloverfield at number 7 on the list.
I'd give it that.
I like Cloverfield.
So
I want to see what the next 6 are because Cloverfield was.
Okay. Well, number 6 coming in at number 6 is a movie that I have never heard of called Colossal from 2016.
I need to see that.
Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
Anne Hathaway, Jason Sudeikis, and Austin Stoll.
Oh wait, that's that I have not seen that movie, but I've heard of it.
Never heard of it before in my life.
Plane. I wasn't a huge.
I don't know. Well, number 5 is our old pals from the Gypsy Pacific Rim from 2013. Directed by, of course, Guillermo del Toro. And, of course, featuring one of my favorite British actors of all time, Idris Elba. Dude, I love that guy.
We are canceling the apocalypse.
Those are Mind Rangers.
Do what?
Oh, he has a line. Those are Mind Rangers. Dying. Fighting.
Oh yeah. Number 4, Shin Godzilla from 2016.
I need to see that really bad.
It had 2
I haven't
directors.
seen that one yet.
It was Hideki Anno and Shinji Higuchi.
Yeah.
That was, I guess, Toho's 3rd reboot of the iconic lizard monster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Was it really a reboot though?
it was
Uh,
a
Part of it, I
reboot.
don't.
According to this website, it was. It said the most noticeable change in this reboot is Godzilla's updated design.
It was
It said the advancements in special effects gave it a more menacing look. I don't know. I haven't seen that one yet
I've seen
either.
pictures of it.
all the other Godzilla movies were always sequels to the 54 one, but Shin was the first one that wasn't a sequel.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a
Okay.
standalone.
Okay. Number 3, they've got a movie called The Host from 2006.
Yes, such a good
good
movie.
Directed by Bong Joon-ho.
Yep.
So number 2, anybody want to guess number 2 and number 1? Who wants to guess? Anybody?
Hit me.
All right,
No, 'cause
number
you make me feel stupid.
Number 2, yeah, well, that's what I live with. Number 2 is the 1933 King Kong.
Okay.
And, of course, everybody's going to get number 1. The original, the OG, Godzilla 1954.
I
Directed
disagree.
by Honda. So
So
that is their list from whatnerd.com.
Cloverfield's got to be higher than that.
So on your list, Cloverfield would be higher.
Yeah,
Where
Cloverfield
would
ranks
you-
top
where would
5
you
on
put-
mine.
Where would you put Cloverfield on that?
Top 5.
Top 5? Okay,
Yeah,
that's
probably
fair.
top 4.
That's fair.
Although I
when I saw that in the
up there
theater-
also.
And the monster looks into the camera before the guy that played Weasel bites it. That scared the shit out of me. I was like, oh my god, this thing's horrible. You know?
So with Pacific Rim, yeah, I'd put that higher also. I mean, if I had to do my top 4, it's OG Godzilla, King Kong, Pacific Rim, Cloverfield.
Okay.
All right. So,
I mean, I think having Shin Godzilla is kind of like cheating, even though it's a reset. It's still Godzilla.
I can't rate it. I've never seen Shin Godzilla, but I've
I've
heard
seen
good
it.
things.
Well,
I haven't seen that one either.
So I could see saying Shin Godzilla and Legendary, or saying Godzilla and Legendary Godzilla are 2 different creatures, because they are 2 different creatures. Like Toho and Legendary have said,
Oh yeah.
we are making no attempt to connect these 2 creatures and sync them. This is basically like if you're talking, Macross and Robotech. These are not. Yeah, they look the same, but these are not the same timelines.
So, but you separate the American Godzilla with Legendary with Toho, but why would you separate the Toho OG with Shin?
Because Shin and the OG, you can kind of look at and say
They're different timelines. They're different. They're not going to be.
So is -1 different then?
Yeah, -1 is another reboot.
Okay. Well, then a -1 is different, and by that logic, I mean we're -1's number 1.
It should
So
be.
Shin and -0 are cousins to the OG Godzilla.
Rot your brain. Let new movies rank number 1 if you want. Well, no, that's what I'm saying. It'll be number 1 and Godzilla will be number 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
Got opinions, Lynn?
I'm not as immersed as I would like to be, if only because I haven't seen Shin Godzilla yet, and I've been kicking myself for years of having not seen it. So kick myself again when we're done here.
I'm watching
And I'll
that tonight,
physically
so
do that
hard.
if you like. No, I like the point that we can't let nostalgia decide what something is number 1. Because one of the things that fueled Godzilla -1 is it's like, yeah, we keep trying to do sequels and such. Well, why don't we go back to the original and think about that setting, post World War II? What would it be like to be there? So basically, say,
Sometimes you gotta
okay,
bring
here's the
original code back.
concept of Godzilla. Let's imagine it all over again in this particular point in time, which we've done with Monarch, with the Monarch stuff from Legendary. We've done it with Shin Godzilla. We've done it with Matthew Broderick movie. We've done it a bunch of different times. But they're like, yeah, let's go back to World War II. Let's go back to the roots of Godzilla and explore the roots rather than just saying, oh, we made that movie in the 50s, so it's done. It's not a remake. It's a different examination of that point. Also, giant monster roar.
I think that's really good. You have a good point with the whole World War II, because the one thing about 1954 Godzilla is they did try to. Let's just forget that we had a huge open air barbecue in Tokyo, courtesy of Curtis LeMay. Let's just. Never happened. Not the worst, like.
Right.
Not the worst, like aerial attack ever. Man-made firestorm. Never happened. Japan is fine now. This is all beatific. I do like the fact that they, confronted the kamikazes, all these, just to show how bad it is in like 1945.
Yeah,
this is not a good scene, folks.
Okay. So I do like Dane, like Lynn said, your point about being open to new things, because I will say that sometimes when you get in a rut, once you like something, you tend not to branch out. People do it with music. Most people don't listen to new music. They're listening to whatever they listened to when they were in high school. Statistically, obviously, there are always outliers. And we do that a lot with media, which is why when they say, why won't they give us new stuff? Well, because you shit all over the new stuff they give you and you don't give it a chance. Now, part of that is Hollywood sucks and they make crap movies too. I mean, it's a yin yang kind of thing, but you got to give that stuff a chance if you want them to keep trying and taking those chances. Because obviously everything can't be a
jacking it up, man. Like that's how it is with the comic business right now. It's like I haven't bought any. Like I'll rather read independent stuff, independent creator comic books right now, because they're kind of reinventing the wheel in a good way. They're not pushing some whatever. They're just trying to tell you a good story. Yeah.
Speaking of this,
go ahead.
I was saying, which I was trying to get back to the other properties, because obviously we've talked a lot about the movies, but we have Dane here who actually writes the books, and I think James has written some Kaiju stories as well, right? The short stories.
Well, that's the class of the mecha. It's the Kaiju class mecha, because I originally had Gojira class mecha, and someone's like, "Yeah, the Toho ninjas will carry you off the night." So I did redo it. Now I have done some Kaiju short stories like that will never see the light of day, but no, I mean, pretty much here, Dane is the only mass creator, as I understand.
It depends on if we can include the piloting rule or not. Because I have a short story that's been published. It's actually the first chapter of a book I still need to get into the world. That is, it's a fantasy, and it's the selection of a new pilot for this baby giant monster. So the way that it gets its pilot is it eats the pilot. It swallows it whole rather than chop it up in little bits.
That sounds unpleasant, Jonas. Okay. So Dane, what does the market look for when you're doing the books and stories instead of like the video? Do they want like take the stage? I'm curious.
Okay, no, I laughed to myself when you first proposed this question, because I really was curious what everyone was going to say, because I know the answer. It's going to be movies. People want movies. And I think that's just inherent to, again, people remember Godzilla. People grew up as kids watching the Godzilla movies, so that's inherently how they ingest this genre. So from a writer's standpoint, it is very difficult to get people to not only try a new brand, but to also try a new medium as well. And like I was just at G-Fest in Chicago, where it's taken years now. We've built up a small fan base there. People are coming back for more books. But every year you still run into one question, is Godzilla in it? And I have to be like, no, this is my own stuff. You'll like it just as much. And like, oh, let me know when Godzilla's in it. Like, okay, well, if you read the book now, then maybe eventually we'll get a crossover. And again, people are all kind of going, oh, this should be a movie. I'm like, yes, I'd love to be a movie. Give me money. Again, I think to your guys' point, support the independent, support the smaller presses, because otherwise you're going to get the same old stuff over and over again. But we were out there, we're trying to add to the genre, but there's a lot of gatekeeping when it comes to the kaiju community, because they want to see Godzilla. They want to ultimately, at this point, maybe Gamera and Ultraman might have a chance, and King Kong in some notoriety now thanks to Legendary movies. But they don't want to see something new because it's not in front of their TV in 4K right now.
Okay.
Lazy
As you
bastards.
mentioned,
So-
camera.
What-
It's the fight everybody wants to see. Like, everybody has wanted to see the fight since the 70s, Gamera versus Godzilla. And part of the reason why you've never had that fight, I can't remember who has the property for Gamera, but they refused to.
Oh yeah, there's two different companies. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but they refused to have Gamera lose, and Toho's like, yeah, he's the king of the monsters.
So what is it when you do the story medium? Like, what kind of stuff do you think you try to give the readers? Is it from the monster's point of view? Is it from the kaiju POV, or is it always from the human's point of view? Is it the external existential threat, or do you humanize it?
It's a combination of all those things, really. I obviously, you're always going to have human storylines. I know people say, I don't want the human storylines, just give me monsters fighting. That they ultimately don't want that. They just want good stories. -1 proves that. And so I have human characters, but then also I do get into the kaiju's point of view a little bit, where I tell their kind of emotions and their structures and how they fight, where I watch a lot of professional wrestling, so I kind of mirror how professional wrestlers tell a story when they fight, and then you kind of write that into the story, and that advances plot sometimes. It's all a combination. Then some monsters are metaphors for natural disasters. Some can be just an animal that's just really big and needs to be in there needs a bit part. I think that's part of the thing that I do like about the kaiju genre, is that the monsters themselves are just as important characters as the humans. And a lot of times, especially I see in American cinema and American kaiju comics, they don't do that as much, which has inspired me to write my own series, because I wanted to see that more.
Well, it brings me to Monarch, because I think that was a nice POV of it. It did show you the kaiju with Godzilla. Like, he was able to recognize certain people.
Yeah.
Recognize them as a threat or as a friend, or so it gave you a little bit of insight into the kaiju brain, which I thought was good. And I think Monarch capitalized that. And I can't wait for season 2 to just start filming, just to let you know. That was really cool, because it mixes the humanity story and it's mirrored with how the kaiju see us. And I thought that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, along those lines, what about that standalone? There was a standalone movie in 2014 called Godzilla, and it had Aaron Taylor Johnson, Elizabeth Olsen, and Bryan Cranston.
Quicksilver.
And I thought that one was kind of cool to me, because it had the angle of Godzilla shows up when he's needed to take on a threat to humanity. But it also had a pretty compelling human storyline with Bryan Cranston's character trying to, figure out what happened to his dead wife and how everything went wrong, and his estranged relationship with his son because of it. It had a compelling human storyline too. That didn't.
They killed Bryan way too early in that movie.
Agreed.
Yeah, they did. I agree with that, because Bryan's great in just about everything he's in. So, but I enjoyed that one, simply because of the fact that I like the idea of Godzilla not only as a monster, but he's also a hero.
Yeah, I liked what they're doing with the legendary Godzillas. Like, whether or not, like, creatively, I like the individual movies themselves. I like where they're going with it, and yeah, you're right, Michael. They are giving Godzilla more of this kind of personality where he feels like a reluctant hero sometimes. He comes in, he deals with crap, and then he gets out, or if someone bugs him, he'll work around it or whatnot. And I think that's definitely what we needed in a Godzilla movie, compared to like '98, where it was again a giant iguana that was in New York to lay eggs.
So bad.
fun movie, but not quite like the god that we needed in a Godzilla movie.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, Dave.
So when you write these books, do you do audio for your books as well?
No, not yet.
I was curious how the Godzilla would sound in audio and if your voice actor hated you.
So there used to be a Godzilla and Friends out here in the Midwest. They do it every year. One of the aspects was every year I went. I don't know if they did it every year, but they had a Best Godzilla Roar contest. And I always think about that when you're talking about people making the audiobook noise. Knowing some audiobook narrators, I would love to see how that would go. Just the whole like, okay, this says Screonk. No, I am not doing this. I am going to literally read Screonk. I'm not doing it. Come on,
yeah,
help me out here.
That'd be a lot of fun to do it. I never really thought about that part, the aspect of what would the monster sound like in an audiobook.
Yeah.
And I think you would have to go like the movie sound effects, somehow mimic a monster sound using something more metallic, I suppose, unless you have a really good voice actor.
Or you could always do both.
Well, that's true.
I mean, the Ring Wraiths and Lord of the Rings, those movies, they were the writer / producer screeching while she had a terrible cold.
I would do it.
Yeah.
That would
Definitely. That hurts my throat just thinking about it.
Right. Yeah.
It was just a random thought because, when you start talking about other mediums, one of those other mediums is the audio only. So speaking of audio only, radio dramas are making a comeback. People are starting to do those in podcast form. Are there any out there from the Kaiju community where their Kaiju stories sort of told that way?
Not to my knowledge. I'm a recovering DJ, so I have a lot of radio lore and history in my head, and I can't think of any. Of course, I'm a huge fan of all the old shows like The Shadow and The Phantom and all of that. But I can't think of a single Kaiju type story. I mean, I know they did some radio dramas featuring like the classics like Frankenstein and Dracula and stuff like that, but not big ones. Not that I know of.
I can't think of any either.
I just looked something up real fast. There's not a lot of like Kaiju audio dramas. It might be an untapped market, ladies and gentlemen. There's some
$1 idea
off the side things, but nothing, no real like, here's a giant monster. It's attacking the city. Let's go fight it.
Well, movies like Cloverfield might work because you didn't see the monster forever. What was that movie? Yeah, what was that movie with the kids and the camera? I can't remember the name of it.
Blair Witch?
No.
No, it was a monster movie. Huh? Oh, jeez.
Cloverfield was with the camera.
Super 8.
Thank you.
Super 8. That's the one. Super 8. Yeah. That'd be another one where you didn't see the critter for a while. So that might work, I guess. But then eventually you're going to have a lot of Foley artists employed for that.
Okay. Was there anything about the Kaiju we haven't talked about? Because obviously if we get too in-depth, we'll just ramble forever about your love of the movies. And I've seen none of these you're mentioning other than the one Apple did. Was it
Monarch?
Monarch. There we go. Other than that, I've seen none of these. But was there anything we should talk about before we move on?
Monarch and Legendary are one and the same. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, same timeline.
I do think that after realizing I have seen none of these movies, we might have to do some movie reviews and throw these up there for consideration. Because
holla at your boy for a movie review.
We talked a lot about Godzilla, and I know it was mentioned briefly because I mentioned him, and I think Dane did too. I think James did too at some point. But Ultraman was the classic Japanese TV show. I'm talking. A friend of mine sent me the entire thing on DVD, and I was watching it with my sons. And it was just like such a freaking cool monster of the week kind of a show, and it kind of reminded me of that old Space Giants TV show. Does anybody remember that? It was the family of giants that turned into rockets and flew into Tokyo to fight monsters once in a while. It was very Power Rangers esque in that regard. Yeah, it's freaking old, man. It's like ancient Japanese television show with the mouths that don't match the words that they're saying because it was really bad dubbing. Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Yeah.
Because my dad introduced me to all this stuff. We would watch kung fu movies on Saturday and monster movies and space giants. And it was fantastic fun. That was the other show we did, Nick, not this one.
Yes, sir.
Now it's a running gag. Great. But no, and I think Ultraman was so much fun. Just going through some of the episodes with the kids here lately, it was just a reminder of, oh man, I really missed this show. This was so much fun because it would come on.
Ultraman was so great. It was so cheesy. It was so awesome.
Oh, and the cheese just made it even better. Yeah. More. Yes. So for me, Ultraman cannot not be mentioned in this.
He's in the show notes. I got a hashtag for him.
Oh, excellent.
All right. Anybody else got anything you want to add before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I'm going to add one. Especially since I know that in our Facebook chat beforehand, you dropped in a bunch of pictures, and one of them was a very new anime called Kaiju number 8. And
I'm not familiar with that one.
They just did their first season of an anime. It's based on a manga, I believe. The premise is there's this guy who's he always wanted to be in I forget what it's called, the core of people who kill kaiju. And they have like super powered, uniforms. They're not like mech suits or anything like that. It's just super powered uniform that unleashes a little bit of super strength and kind of thing and lets them use badass guns.
Like an exoskeleton?
No, it's not even that. It's it's like a poly mesh suit that.
What is it called again?
Kaiju number 8, because the main character ends up, even though he starts out, he's part of a, for lack of better term, he's kaiju janitorial. Somebody has to clean up the battle after it's over, and he keeps failing to get into the actual group. And he meets a new guy who kind of encourages him, like, "Hey, you haven't gotten so old that you can't try one more time. So try one more time." And because of some weird circumstances, he ends up swallowing a monster of some sort, and it makes it where he transforms into the title character, Kaiju number 8. Wow. So he's got to kind of play superhero and hide the identity and all that, but he's also joining this anti-kaiju task force, and they have full-on big kaiju. They have little ones. It's a lot of fun and cool action.
Okay. Oh, it's on Crunchyroll. Nice.
That's where I watched it.
Okay, I'm tracking that down. That's saved for later.
Oh yeah, okay. It's worth your time.
All right, and then with that, so as we wrap up, Len. I'm sorry, my sinuses are killing me. It's hard to speak. You could be Lane today if you want to, though. Just not Lois.
Get your shit together, JR.
Lynn, what are you writing right now, and how can listeners and viewers at home find you?
I am len-berry.com is where you can find me. I'm making that a lot more accessible, so you'll find what's available and such. I am currently writing a biopunk magical girl story called Queens of the Apocalypse. I hope to be able to begin releasing that one very soon. We're a month out from the recording of this, a month out from the release of Loyalty of Severus, epic science fiction. And on my Patreon, I do, in fact, have the sequel being released slowly, chapter by chapter.
Nice. And what about you, Dane? Where can they find you? And as usual, everything will be in the show notes, dear listener. And what are you working on now?
Wonderful. You guys can mostly find me on Facebook at Dane G. Kroll. What am I working on now? I'm working on Digitaro Senshi Kaiju Breaker, a new comic book associated with the Kaiju Assault card game. And we're working on the first few issues. I was going to pull up a comic issue, but I don't have the issue here anymore, so never mind. I can't show you the cover right now. I'm sorry, everybody. But check it out, Digitaro Senshi Kaiju Breaker. You can also find us on Facebook at Kaiju Breaker, on Facebook as well. Wait, I have it. I do. Our first special issue we debuted just last July. Look at that.
Nice.
Kaiju Breaker. It's kind of
that's
Spider-Man meets Power Rangers.
Nice.
All right. What about you, James? What are you working on, and where can they find you?
Oh, always busy. So the very next thing that should be out is a collection of short stories, Dispatches from Valhalla, which is basically the very short stories I have in different anthologies where I've gotten the rights back. Is going to be the collective put together. That will come out next month. The first week of September, the latest anthology I've been doing as a guest editor with Raccoon Curve Press, the big ones, alternate stories or alternate World War IIs, basically is nothing but a collection of alternate history of World War II stories. So it's new work by myself, a couple of Sidewise Award nominees, as well as other folks in the alternate history genre. And that's pretty much for the next couple of months. Next place you can find me officially, as of right now, will be KC Planet Comic-Con in March. I am still on the wait list for Salt Lake City. If you're listening to this after September, either I got in or I didn't. If I did get in, you'll be able to find me on my Facebook page. It'll be in the shapeboard in the notes, where I'll put an announcement there. Or you can check my blog at jamesyoungauthor.com.
Outstanding. And last, but certainly not least, Mr. Michael LaVoice.
Hey, you can find all of my social media and links of all kinds are at Linktree. So if you go to linktr.ee/Michael LaVoice, you can find all my stuff there. Or you could just go to my website, michaellavoice.com, and all the same links are there, including links to all of these wonderful podcasts that I've been a part of over the last year or so. I'm currently working on a story called Gladius Leagues. I'm a little over 54,000 words into book 3 of that. As I said, Dane, you'll love this. It's we've eliminated warfare in the future via a combat sport that's televised called the Gladius Leagues. It's a combination of the NFL, Mech Warrior, and WWE.
That sounds like my kind of world.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun to write. So once I get that finished up, I've got a publisher already to put that out there. So we'll get that going.
Nice. And you can find us on our Linktree, linktr.ee/Blasters and Blades podcast. Again, Linktree/Blasters and Blades podcast. And that's where we link to all the. What's that?
I do have one alibi.
Oh, go.
I was just going to say, just remember, Godzilla watches over us all, with the F-bomb included. Come on. There we go. Actually, that is my writing totem. The F-bomb is a gift from a friend's mother. She always made F-bombs for people. So if you had to drop an F-bomb around children,
I give those away for free, dude. Come on.
Well, if you had to drop an F-bomb around a child, you could pick up a close by F-bomb and throw it at somebody.
Smart.
And basically, that was a way to say F you without actually saying around Tinder years.
Yeah.
So
That reminds me, Nick, I need a holy hand grenade of Antioch while you're printing stuff.
you guys just had that in the 3D printer. You just have a file for it. Like, well, I've got one of those rabbits.
I'll find one. I'll find it.
You can follow us on our Linktree at Linktree/Blasters and Blades podcast, where we link to all the things, the bitch shoots, the rumbles, the YouTubes, the Twitters, the TikTok, and email. We have our Blasters and Blades podcast at gmail.com for professional purposes only, people. We have our Facebook group and Facebook page linked to the Linktree. And more importantly, we have Madam Stabby Stab on the Instagram, Twitter, and email. Send all the hate mail to her. She's here for it. We're not. Have fun. Shenanigans. We link to our website over there on Spotify.com, where for as little as 99 cents a month, you can help keep the lights on. These episodes are not free to produce, and we appreciate your patronage. If you want to support the show more directly, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section this is for the podcast, and I promise my co-hosts will get overly caffeinated on their coffee brand coffee, where if you use the code podcast Grunt, 10% off. You can get them like totally blitzed on caffeine. I'm screwing this up, Nick. It's been a long day. It's all your fault still, though, just so we clear. All right, now that we know it's all Nick's fault, you need the little scroll bar. It's always Nick's fault.
Hold on, I'm finding it.
His wife gave us permission to say that, so it's okay. Anyway, you can support the show using our discount code at Coffee Brand Coffee. You can use our Buy Me a Coffee, put in the comment section for this podcast, and it will be applied towards the expenses therein. And with that, we want to thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-host, I am J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters and Blades podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time, where we'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. All right, thanks for coming on. A lot of fun. Dane, we're gonna have you back to talk about your books. James, call us on your next launch. We can make that happen. Lynn, I want to hear about those Sparkle Queens. All right, so get that out there. All right.
Believe me, I am overloading ads with about that right now. So yeah, we
outstanding.
can make that happen.
That was a lot of fun. And with that, I'm going to hit the end button so we can not get ourselves in trouble by getting blocked.